if you guys are trying to pawn stuff off that is not what it is, then you suck, and you are the bane of my existence, professionally. My name is Garrett Hartle. Welcome back to Out Reptiles.
Our panel forum says, if you could see one thing improve or advance in the super dwarf hobby, what would it be? Whether it's husbandry, industry, or just personal goal.
If I could see one thing improve in the industry, it would just be that people stop misrepresenting it.
That's what I was gonna say.
The more we work to advance this kind of niche in the industry, I mean, it's getting out there. They're getting really popular. Barcheck, I was watching one of his mini podcasts. We'll have to link this video too. But people are asking him about, what do you think about super doors? How about super doors? What about super doors? And so they're an amazing species to work with. They're so fun. I've worked with a ton of stuff, guys. The reason why I pick super doors is just because they're the best. You know, like I've had everything else. They're the best, you know? And so that's why I work with them. But even Barcheck, you know, he had to sit down and talk about a lot of stuff. We need to get him out here. He shouted us out, you know, gave us credit for pioneering it and everything, which was cool of him. That was nice. I think that he has kind of some of the little bit of like the old school philosophy on them. And there's been so much work that's been done. So we'll have to get Barcheck over here sometime.
Yeah, I think it
squeeze him in the basement. To really see,
Yeah.
because he was like, so many generations would have to be done. The selective breeding would have to be really carefully done. And that's the stuff we're doing.
Yeah, we're working on that.
And it's building the industry. But the problem with that is, like, people are trying to get in on that action quickly without doing the work up front. And so, you know, I just had somebody today was telling me that they were offered some 75% Slayer Phantoms that were produced by us. And they were selling them a pair for $1,200, and that seemed like a great deal. The only problem is I've never produced a 75% Slayer Phantom. I don't think anybody ever has. And so the animal is certainly misrepresented, and $1,200 would be a great deal if they were that, but they're not. And $1,200 for a pair of mainland Phantoms is not a great deal. And so, I mean, this stuff just happens constantly. People even name dropping us to raise the price of an animal that they're basically flipping on an unsuspecting buyer. I
see it all the time, even on like Craigslist.
Once you know what to look for, it really jumps out at you what is being misrepresented. That's the one thing, guys, is like, just get the right bloodlines and work from there. You know, just if you want to get into super doors, get good ones. Don't get these third hand, maybe it is, I don't know, it's a great pet, so who cares. If that's the case, go buy a mainland. They're very affordable to buy, and you can get any morphs you want. Oh, the other thing that they were asking was mainland morphs that need to be worked out in super doors. The answer is all of them. All of them. The recessive stuff takes forever. It's a minimum of 10 years to get a chance to make 2 or 3 snakes. So, and that's a lot. That's a huge monetary and time investment. But there's so many morphs that if people are really stacking up on good quality small genetics, there's a lot of room. I would love one of you guys to produce a Superdorf Anthrax, a Superdorf Genetic Stripe, a Superdorf Hypo, a Superdorf Rainbow. I want to see Superdorf Pieds. I want to see Superdorf Mochas. I want to see Superdorf Caramels. I want to see Superdorf Ghosts. I mean, we can just go on and on and on and on. There needs to be, there's a couple of orange ghost stripes, but there should be way more of those. There's just so many morphs, and each one takes lots of time. So people might see that as a downside, but I see it as long-term viability of this part of the hobby. So lots of people want these snakes, lots of people want them smaller, so there's a lot of room for good breeders to make a living. People that are just trying to get there quick, you know, if you're misrepresenting your animals or you know, kind of over promising and under delivering, or calling something a dwarf that may not be a dwarf, or you know, yeah, if you know, if small size is your priority, get the good bloodlines. If you guys are trying to pawn stuff off that is not what it is, then you suck, and you are the bane of my existence professionally. Is that a good way to say it? There's more people that suck with dwarf and super dwarf than are good with it. A lot more. So we put all the good ones on our channel. You can find them. Go buy from those breeders. They're good people. They deserve to be supported.
If you were just starting out, how would you go about choosing your first investment quality animals? Would you go with pets or visuals, and why?
Oh man, I made a 2-part series on this. We're gonna link those too. It's like part 1 and 2 about how to choose the right investment animals. There's a lot of variables that go in there, and it really depends on your direction. So if you're going with a morph that's already established, let's say albino, yeah, just grab, I mean, it's going to depend on your budget. Either grab a stack of het albino females and 1 visual male, or just, if you have the budget for it, get a bunch of, say, 50% super dwarf albino females and a nice unrelated super dwarf albino male. And I mean, honestly, guys, you could have a stack of like 5 cages, 1 male, 4 females, and make the average American salary or more in a year just breeding those consistently. So there's so many, that's a huge topic. We'll link the videos in here.
What are some common mistakes people do when they first get into super dwarf retics? What is your don't do this advice for new owners breeding or pets?
The common mistakes, I'm actually going to say exact opposite things, but it kind of depends on what your goal is. And she says either breeding or pets. So Natalia, this one's for you. I would say that if you are getting retics as pets, probably the biggest and worst mistake you can make is to get too many too fast. What happens is people get, you know, they overthink their first dwarf or super dwarf retic. If you're getting your very first one, I would say the only thing that you really need to do is go to the absolute best breeder you can find and have them work with you. So if you have a pet, don't get too many too fast. Get your first one from a great breeder so that they can help you out. You can learn along the way, and if you're gonna try to shortcut or do something a little cheaper or pick up a sick animal and fix it, or an unknown locality and try to send pictures to people and be like, what locality is this? Or all those other mistakes that people do that with your 4th or 5th retic, and you'll understand why. Get your first one from the right person so you know exactly what you're doing, and don't get too many too fast. People fall in love, and then they have 6 of them when their first one is like 3 months old, and they don't understand what it takes to house and maintain 6 adult retics. Even the dwarves and super dwarves, I mean, you know, get them all set up really well. For breeders, the beginner mistake would be not enough or going too slow. So I think what people do there is they're like, oh, I'm gonna buy a female here, I'm gonna buy a female there, I'm gonna do this here, and I'm gonna do that there. Because usually breeders are doing it, and they wanna buy some, like, you know, higher powered genetics. They wanna get some snows or something like that. They wanna be able to make some. So they'll buy like an albino head anery head albino stuff. And let's say they're gonna invest a couple $1,000. And then they do that, and they wait, and then after like 18 months, they're like, you know what? I love these things. I completely want to do it. And then they come back and they invest 10 times that amount or whatever, and they try to get set up, and it's like they're painfully waiting for their females to grow up so that they can just finally get started. So I would say if you're gonna do the breeding, just go get a female like yesterday. Like, send us a message. What is the info at reachoutReptiles.com. Let us know what you want to get into. Buy an animal that's sitting in a rack over there. Get an animal on a waiting list. Get something. Go get a female. Do it now. And then get as many as you can. And set them up. Not as many as you can, but like, if you want to have 1.6, get your 6. And start growing them up so that you can kind of be off to the races when you start. If you know what you want, go get it. That's what I would say with breeders. A lot of them kind of trickle their way in, and then it takes them a long time to build momentum. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We'll catch you next time.